Hi, welcome to RichesTalk. I'm your host, Jeffrey Liu. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Roger Perrett from Freshwater Wealth. With over 25 years of experience in financial planning, Roger is recognized as a top 50 advisor by Financial Standard and has been quoted by leading publications like the Financial Review and Money Management. He's based in Sydney and specializes in creating wealth for high net worth professionals aiming for a great retirement lifestyle. So if you want a great lifestyle, you should stay and listen to this podcast. Roger's insight into the complexity of investing, government rules, and tax minimization will be invaluable today. So let's dive into our conversation today. Hey, Roger, welcome to our RichesTalk. Just to start, can you tell us about your journey into financial planning and what inspired you to pursue this career 25 years ago?
Yeah, thanks, Jeffrey. So it was interesting. Back in uni days, I really enjoyed numbers, bizarrely enough, and but also I really liked human psychology, and I guess there's a flow-on effect from that was in terms of marketing. So I did marketing and finance degree, and that's what I pretty much do every day. I basically sell or advise people on financial strategies, and that's something that I really enjoy. But the added benefit is I'm really having a massive impact on people's lives, so which I think is just hugely important. And I think it's great that the advice industry can actually do that for people and really make people have a in my case, a great retirement lifestyle, but just putting them in a much better position. So, so that's sort of how I started, and that's what sort of drives me on a daily basis.
So you say you studied psychology and marketing at uni, and then at that time, I don't think there is a profession like financial planning at uni.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. They just had that subject at uni. Because recently I'm a business mentor at UNSW. They already have that financial planning degree, master degree, but at that time there isn't such a subject.
No, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So it's really changed.
Did you start from the bank or from any financial institution at that time?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to start with Westpac.
All right.
And Westpac at that time was really large in financial advice. It was probably one of the largest groups doing advice back in the day. And so Westpac did a lot of training and what have you. So I really sort of honed my skills and what have you. But then over time, and I think it's great, there's been more and more educational requirements to be a financial advisor.
Yeah, has the FISIA and all the
correct,
Royal Commission and everything.
Yeah, that's right. There's just been more and more, I guess, raising of the bar from an educational perspective. And like you say, now you can actually do it at university, whereas back in the day there wasn't even a course. But there's just so much to it. There's so much knowledge that you need to have to start as being an advisor, but also to maintain, because the government's always changing the rules.
That's right.
So and markets are always changing. So it's really important. So not just to have the education when you start, but to be a student forever, if you like, always learning and keeping up to speed with, what's going on and what's possible. So we can help clients at the end of the day.
Just to let you know that I have known Roger for many years. That's back when I was working for Westpac. That's how we connected.
That's right. Yeah, that's it.
2013, when they implement the FOFA, Future Financial Advice, where they had these ongoing advice requirements for ROAs and everything. So that's how I get the opportunity to work with Roger. And at that time, I think Roger was one of probably the most passionate advisor I've seen.
Right. Oh, thanks, Jeffrey.
Yeah, and you already a partner, I think, at that time.
Yes.
And then and Roger was one of the top advisors in the country, I think. So I had the opportunity to work with him, and I've been definitely impacted by your passion to work with the clients. And then so thank you all. So that has definitely made an impact in my attitude towards my career, as for the risk management and insurance and everything. So I totally agree that in this journey, the government changes, for example, superannuation, insurance, the investment, the compliance, they change dramatically. And you've been known for your holistic approach to wealth management. How can you explain what this entails and why it's crucial for long-term financial success to have a holistic approach and to work with someone like you to have knowledge in different aspects of the finance.
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting. Like, let's just take, for example, an investment. If someone said, "Look, I'd like to invest a certain amount of money," and then we did that, we'd actually known their full picture. It may not suit their needs at all. Like we may be thinking they're a long-term investor, yet they've got plans to sell up and be a backpacker around the world, right? Like, so it's really important to, before we invest a dollar, before even we get to actually talking about investments, really understanding, as you say, the client's whole picture and almost like taking a long-term view to say, like, what do they see their life like in sort of 5 or 10 years time? Do you know what I mean? So then we can sort of take their current position where they are now and go, okay, what's the bridge between now and in 5 or 10 years? What are the steps we need to take to get there? So I think that's like a good example of where it's really important so we know the whole picture rather than just go, okay, yeah, this is what we need you to do. Can you invest money? So financial advice has really evolved over time too, because it started off probably just about investments, personal insurances, but it's not so much a product business anymore. It's really about the advice. And you may touch on this. We've got like a 7 steps to a great retirement, which you could basically use for if you're not planning to retire, just 7 steps to create wealth. But we really focus these 7 steps to help people have a great retirement lifestyle, and each 7 makes up one of the key pillars, if you like, of wholesale advice. And I guess another way to think of it, it's almost like having like a stool, if you like, with 3 legs. If you take out one of the legs, the stool falls over. So financial advice is great, but it needs to be considered for the whole picture, because there's no point in creating wealth on one side. If one of the pillars or one of the legs falls off, the whole thing falls apart. So it's really important to make sure that we're covering all of those 7 steps.
Absolutely. When I was an advisor as well, when I'm advising people, people always ask me, what should I do? People focus on the step they take or the action they take, but before they make decision, they don't know where they are. They don't know where they want to be. Just what you just mentioned. Maybe they want to be a backpacker and travel around the world as their goal. And if you invest a lot of money, how can you get the money back to support you, to support your life, lifestyle? So I always ask my clients to know, you need to know where you are, where you want to be, and then it makes sense to understand which path you want to take.
Yeah, that's right.
Without knowing that, you just talk about, should I take bus or train? But where are you going? So I think it's really good, really important reminder for our audience to understand where they want to be in life and what lifestyle they want. And then once they know the goal, they probably need help, in the steps or strategy or tactical solutions to help them get to where they want to be. I think that's very important.
Yeah, like on that, it's interesting that I saw a blog article actually this week where I was basically suggesting that if you want to go and see a financial advisor, you need to have all your goals, sorted. I would say pretty much every client that comes to see me, they, most of them don't have their goals.
Most they don't know where they want to go,
and that's fine, because I really like being part of that process and helping them create these exciting goals. So I don't think we should, I guess, tell people to put off seeing an advisor just because they don't have goals. In some cases, I do have people come to see us with goals, maybe like a couple, and for example, one person envisages their retirement to be sitting on a beach somewhere, and then someone else may be thinking far more adventurous type of lifestyle. So I don't think it really matters if you're not on the same page or you haven't spoken about it or you don't have any goals at all. But seeing an advisor, I think, will really help in that process, and basically so you've got like a fantastic and opportunistic look going forward. So yes, I'd encourage, even if you don't have goals or what have you, come and see an advisor and get started.
And even when you don't have a goal or you don't believe you're in your goal, when you see an advisor like Roger, he will instill the confidence in you. I remember I think one of our conversations before, you mentioned if you have a goal, never put down a goal or never say no to a goal, just to ask them more why they want to achieve a goal. Do they have a plan? Have they thought about, have they planned? Even if you want to have a goal to land on the moon, now it's achievable. People just started spacewalking from
this week,
Elon Musk, right? So it's never impossible.
No, that's right.
Anything is possible. If you set a goal, you may achieve it.
Yeah, that's right.
Be careful what you wish.
Yeah, that's right. Be careful what you wish for. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as you, Roger, you have been working with high net worth clients, you must have discovered the typical problem that people face. People from mid-class income or to high-class or high net worth clients, they must have problems that maybe other types of clients not face. So in your experience, how do you what type of challenges the high net worth client face, and how do you tailor your strategy to address those specific needs and challenges for this group of people?
Yeah, sure. So it's really in terms of the common problems. There's a whole raft of them. But look, I think if you said like in one bucket, in terms of strategy, I would say most people we're seeing are just paying unnecessary tax.
Tax.
I often make a joke and say, look, everyone has to pay tax, to contribute to society, but there's no need for a tip, and I see it all the time. People are probably paying unnecessary tax, if you're a high net worth investor. So I think that's one of those problems that a lot of people just didn't realise they had, or they probably just didn't realise the opportunities they have either. So I think tax and strategy is one. I think investing is another one of those problems where people don't quite realise they have, where they're investing which probably doesn't align to their risk profile. And it can be both ways. They could be investing too conservatively, and they've got a long retirement can be a number of years, it can be 20 or 30 years. So going too conservative is actually increasing their risk. So that's a common problem that we have. How are we going to make sure that
align with your risk appetite?
Yeah, your risk appetite. Yeah, so absolutely making sure that your investments there. And likewise, sometimes we see it the other way. People are investing far more
too risky
for potentially what they need. Like a lot of high net worth investors don't actually have to take that much risk. They've created so much wealth for whatever reason. They don't have to take risk. And I think sometimes that's a good discussion to have, because especially do you need to have sleepless nights and things like that by investing aggressively when really you don't need to? So I think right around the whole investment piece, that's what we solve a number of problems on that side as well. So yeah.
So tax is a common problem that high net worth face. As everyone knows, the highest tax bracket in Australia is like 47%, including the Medicare levy. Also the investment, you have money, you need to invest it. If you put it in the wrong basket, it might get burst, especially after the pandemic, global financial crisis. There are different risks that you may never be aware, or you're never taking risk, which puts you in a risky position because of the inflation and everything. That's also risk.
That's right.
Risk is everywhere. I do believe risk management is the fundamental foundation for wealth management. You need to manage all sorts of risk to help you build a solid foundation for your wealth growing. Just for the tax minimization part, I think most of our audience will be interested to hear your opinion on different ways we can minimize tax, especially legally and compliantly, that on the table, that if you don't do it, you just pay more tax.
That's right, you're just paying a tip. Do you know what I mean? You're paying more than you have to.
And if you pay $50,000 a year for tax, which is, most high net worths probably pay more, for over 10 years, it will be $500,000. For 20 years, it will be $1 million.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot, isn't it? Yeah,
so how would people, in terms of tax minimization, what's your good suggestion for high net worth clients to start considering?
Yeah, so I think we have this, tax reduction strategy. So instead of paying tax at the top rate, the government's got a number of different tax rates, whether it be a company tax rate, whether it be superannuation, or in pension phase, it's actually zero tax. So these are all legal structures that we can use. And I think in terms of your advice for a high net worth, it's really making sure you understand those other structures and being able to get advice to see if they suit you. But the biggest one, especially in retirement with my clients, is not having to pay any tax. Is amazing. Do you know what I mean? So, you could have up to like over $4 million as a couple invested tax-free, like $4 million, and not paying any tax on any interest, any dividends, any rent, and what have you. So I think it's super important, to consider some of these, other
Strategies,
structures.
yeah.
And the best way to do that is to obviously see an advisor, and they can, I guess, instead of just trying to work out, all the different options and work out the best, you're far better seeing an advisor, and they can really narrow it down and say, look, this is the best strategy for you. But yeah, you can't really go past zero tax.
Yes. If you have been paying tax for the most of your life, and when you're approaching retirement, it's definitely a good time to start considering different structures, tax-free structures, right? Tax reduction strategies. And if you don't know how to do it, better see an advisor, see an expert who has been in that field, doing the job for many years. I think that's, again, it's a wise decision to start looking at early than late. When you already mean it's too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the government, to get these great tax benefits, the government, or the rules or legislation is it basically it's more prohibitive if you just put things off, and then you get to retirement and said, look, I want to put all this money into super and make it take advantage. It's very difficult. The way the legislation is being created is it's better to start early and do it regularly rather than just putting it off.
And each year it has the cap. It restricts you from putting in money.
Yeah, that's right. And we know from an investment perspective too, that's better. It's much better to be investing regularly in the market and using the effects of compounding than putting like an investment off. You're just missing that that compounding effect. So not only from a tax perspective, but from an investment perspective, it's best to start as early as possible.
Also with insurance, it's better to start early than late, because the younger you are, the cheaper the premium is. I mean, the accumulated premium will be cheapest if you started early. The other thing is, if something happens in your health, you can't get insurance.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
So everything regarding superannuation, investment, insurance, retirement planning, estate planning, it's always better to start early than
That's
late.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. There's so much more, so much better result if you start early.
If you don't plan early, if you don't, what is the saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And
exactly.
if you plan, you better plan early than late.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe have a second plan, backup plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And one of the subject I just mentioned was estate planning.
Yes.
It's also one of the areas, not just to high net worth clients, but most of people, they overlook in
Yes.
their wealth management, financial planning process, because it's planning for the preservation, for passing the wealth.
Yeah.
So I think it's very hard to speak the topic when the person is still alive and doing things normal, healthy. How would you approach and give somebody to start consider this estate planning process?
Yeah, it's interesting. I know with different cultures, there's, I guess a bit of apprehension
Yeah.
to talk about what happens if you aren't around. But,
Yeah.
But I think it's really healthy to be able to, to talk and think about, okay, if I wasn't here, what do I want to happen? What people are relying on me and depending on me right now, and making sure, they're looked after, if you did pass away. So I often sort of start with to people, do you have a will? It's basically as simple
Yeah.
as that. And obviously some people don't. And then if people do, I then ask, what does it say? Like, what does,
Yeah.
and usually it sort of comes out and people are like, no, this is what I want, and that's what I've got, which is great. But then some people, as they're talking through it, say, oh, this is what I think it says, or yeah, this is what I think it says, but I don't think I want that anymore. And that's sort of, I guess, a bit of a good reminder that they need to update
Review
their
it.
because over time, things do change. But I think, yeah, in terms of just getting the conversation on the table, yeah, just working out, okay, if we weren't here, what do I want, for my family and dependents and with my money. So
I think it's better to come from a professional to raise that question than as a normal conversation. It's probably very hard to bring that up.
Yeah, I guess
Especially with our community, with
right.
with the Chinese, Australian Chinese background, it's very, people are reluctant to talk about death and after
it's hard,
death.
yeah. Yep.
Especially when your parents are still alive, it's even harder to talk about that.
Yeah, I can imagine so. Yeah, and I know there's sort of different views on
Cultures.
these cultures with and what have you. So no, I totally get it. So coming to a professional, hopefully that can help.
Hopefully that can help.
Yeah, rather than being just putting it off and not wanting to get anything arranged. But as you say, go and see a professional so at least you can get sorted.
Yeah, so a lot of things, because the language we use and the subject, the words, the professional, the rules, we don't talk about in an everyday life. But with a financial advisor, with a financial background professional, at least you can listen to have a more professional opinion in the things you probably overlooked. Just like if you go to a gym, you go to a trainer, if you practice workout at home, and you don't know which part of the practice is training which part of your muscle, and it may hurt yourself as well.
Yeah.
But if you go to a professional, they have a system, to have different methods of training different part of your body, and to make sure you're in a safe zone, have somebody to help you, support you. So I think that's very important to have that knowledge, because there are also people who buy insurance, they go online and buy their own insurance, and then end up not claiming because of they bought the wrong insurance, or not doing the right disclosure as well.
Yeah, sure.
So when at the time of claim, there's nobody helping them, and they have to argue, they may need to go to the legal, but that would be too late.
That's right. Yeah. It's a common thing, isn't it? Like we all don't know what we don't know, so we can't be specialists in everything. So
that's right.
So the areas where we don't specialise, it's probably best to speak to someone who does it on a daily basis, and so they can then raise those opportunities with you, or highlight the risks that you weren't aware of. So
absolutely, yeah. I think having the specialists around you is very important to start with before you start the journey. I think that's the key message. The other thing is for building financial confidence, because a lot of people, they make money, they spend money, they manage money, they probably buy their own property, or go to the bank, borrow money, invest in shares, buy shares. I think building that financial confidence is very important for anyone managing their finance. Previously, you just mentioned about your 7 steps wealth principles. Can you please elaborate more on the principle? What are the 7 steps involved, and how do we start practicing them if they haven't seen an advisor like you? Can they already start making their finance improve straight away?
Yeah, I think so. So I think the first step is like creating exciting plans. So really understanding, like we were saying before, what your goal setting is, like where we're actually heading.
Yeah, planning is very important. Yeah,
and trying to work out actually how much that goal is going to cost. So whether it be a lifestyle, a retirement, or maybe it's a toy or a holiday, whatever it is, to not only get excited about it and start planning towards, but also understanding the financial impact. So number 1 is creating plans. The second one is generating income.
Income.
Yeah, exactly. So that always where it starts. Like to create wealth is very difficult to do it without income. Like you can inherit it, you can potentially win it. Do you know what I mean?
Lottery, buy a lottery.
But generally it comes from generating income. So that's whether you're trying to create wealth, I think trying to generate as much income or surplus income you can is super important. But for retiree clients, generating income is the second, because that's sort of the most important thing, right? They don't have earned income anymore. They need income then.
They probably think about passive income is also part of the income. Correct,
exactly. So it's all making sure you've got you're generating income,
cash flow,
and generating income from a number of sources, etc. The third one is basically minimizing tax.
Minimize tax.
Yeah. So
minimize unnecessary tax that you shouldn't have paid.
That's right. So we're now generating income. Now, how can we minimise the tax so we can keep as much as possible? So we've all got a duty to pay taxes. It's our contribution to society. So
absolutely,
it's not about cheating the system. It's just more about paying the tax that we should, rather than as I said, paying a tip. So that's number 3. The fourth one is optimising debt. So not everyone has debt. So I sort of put this in as a bit of if applicable. But there's this whole concept of good debt and bad debt.
Yeah.
Good debt meaning that you can get a tax deduction from any interest. Bad debt that you don't. So that's one concept. The other concept is you can actually use other people's money by borrowing to then invest. And in that scenario, as long as the return you're getting on the investment is higher than the cost, you're making money there as well. So
margin lending, leveraging other people's money.
That's right, yeah. So number 4 is optimising debt if you have it. Number 5, and interesting, this is number 5 and not number 1. This is when we now invest. So after we've generated the income, after we've minimised tax, after we've optimised our debt, now we're in a position to invest.
Interesting.
And investing is all about aligning your risk profile. 2 things. I call it the sleep at night test, to make sure we're investing in it to get a return that you like. But when those corrections come, as they always will, making sure we can still sleep at night. We're not anxious, and whatever we do, we don't sell when it's down, because when we sell when it's down, invariably
capital loss.
We capital loss, and we always miss out on the
rising,
the upturn, or the recovery. So it's all about aligning to your risk profile and the right time frame.
fifth one is investing.
Yeah, that's right. Number 6 is
Next
all
is?
about protecting assets.
Protecting assets.
Yeah, and I think this comes in sort of three tiers, if you like. So one is any health, and you mentioned that a few times.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, you know, like if your biggest asset is yourself.
Yourself, yeah.
Yeah, so basically protecting if you pass away, making sure you've got enough income to live, or if family does, or what happens to the debt? Can the debt be cleared? So you can get insurance, or if you pass away, if you're disabled, or if you have a major illness.
Sick illness,
yeah. So the other one is legality. So like if you were ever sued or there was like a relationship breakdown in the family, you know, how do we protect our wealth from those scenarios? And the third one, which is I guess like really topical, is cybersecurity. So how do we protect your assets? Do you know what I mean, from a scam and things like that? So all
there are so many scanning in Australia. You always get the calls from embassy, from which, you know, the parcel or importing company.
That's right. So protecting assets, and you mentioned before risk mitigation is just huge. So really making sure that we've got our asset protection strategies in place. And then number 7, which is the last one, is really about making gifts. And a lot of people these days are making gifts while they're alive, but I guess historically making gifts was usually when you pass away, you create an inheritance and you pass your assets on to family members or charities, etc. So I guess
giving others,
giving now while you're alive, or giving when you pass away. But
you have to give when you pass away.
Yeah, that's right. So just making sure all that's structured correctly as well. So that's sort of the 7 steps that we recommend.
So I think Roger is really good with the language explaining, very clearly use plain language, because in professional term, people use philanthropy planning. I think a lot of family office using that to actually help people manage their gifting to certain part of the community, charity. But in plain language, it's just giving out. You're making money, you're enjoying your life, and then you give. This is riches of life. You share that riches to other people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
leave a legacy.
Yeah, that's right. It could be to charity. Some people, it could be to church groups you focus or follow or involved with, or also for family members. So.
Or a cause of your mission that you want to help out with the planet.
That's it.
I think that's really, really interesting and really valuable for us. Even when I hear your 7 steps, although I know each one, but I think the order that you use create a very unique dynamic and impact on the logic that we should think about. The income, the plan. Without the plan, the goals, then everything is meaningless.
That's right.
Then you need to have money. If you don't have income, then how do you do other things? You can't have money to manage.
That's right.
And then you have income. They automatically cut part of your income to tax. If there's any unnecessary tax, you save it as your income. So you increase your income when you minimize tax. And then you have debt. So if you borrow money, but if you don't borrow, that's fine. We can move to the investment. If you borrow money, we want to have the borrowed money to create more value. So the interest is less than the return we make.
Correct, yeah.
Right? So we don't encourage you borrow to spend.
That's right.
But we encourage you borrow to invest, but invest wisely, which is the next step. And then investing wisely to align with your risk profile.
Yeah.
And the risk profile which we earlier spoke about is you don't want to take too much risk or not taking any risk, which is also risky.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
You're not leveraging the time and the compounding interest in compounding effect, and also the time, make friends with time. Time in the market. And then you have protecting assets, which really you break it down into 3 steps of protecting your health, your future income and clear the debt, protecting your legal liability, also protecting against the cybersecurity, not being scammed. You make a lot of money and then scammed. I think that's very important. That's what most people overlook.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, like 10 or 15 years ago, we wouldn't have even had that on our list, but these days it's such a big thing, it's super important.
I just had a client who called me the other day, I think a few months ago. She invests in like a shared platform, and then she said, I got scammed by 200,000.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I said, what happened? I said, I spoke with this person, and then this person asked me to invest in the overseas share platform and show me all the returns he's making every day. And then why do you listen to him? he said, oh, he shows very, authentic, and then it shows me the transaction, and then I transfer the money, and then I cannot contact him anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, what can I do? You tell me, what can I do? And a lot of people, with the crypto coin, a lot of scams in that space as well, and there's no legislation to track it as well.
Yeah.
So sad. I can only, I'm really sorry to hear about that, but I really can't help you with that. And I think that's so important to include that in the risk.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a new risk that for everyone, where even say 10 or 15 years ago probably didn't exist, or it was a lot less than it is these days.
Maybe 10 or 15 years ago, the communication is not advanced.
Yeah.
And now we get messages from everywhere, from mobile phone, email, messages, social media, and everything.
Yeah, so it's very easy, isn't it, to click on a link, which is then going to either a bogus website, or you've just allowed a hacker then to be able to access your keystrokes, or the information that you subsequently type into your phone and what have you. So anyway, I'm not necessarily saying I'm the cyber security specialist, but it's definitely one of those key pillars that we need to make sure
the problem.
To create wealth. We need to make sure we're really protecting our assets from a cyber security perspective.
And that's definitely related to the protecting assets risk management. So that's
right.
Definitely part of your life riches. So if you have riches already built it so hard, spend many years, you want to spend some money, spend some time to protect it.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
It's like you're fighting a war. You win this thing, and then you don't have a moat to protect the wealth.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you probably lost everything in one night.
Well, hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
But that's why with experts like us in your life, or either a financial advisor or insurance expert to help you protect it, at least there's a risk out there.
That's right. Yeah,
there's a risk out there. I think that's very good. I just want to emphasize on that. It's really, really good reminder. And also the last thing, not the least, is gifting.
Yeah, that's right.
The meaning of life, you being a blessing to other people, you being a channel of blessing to more, less fortunate people.
Yeah.
Not just gifting your money, but probably your knowledge, your experience, your story, and then of course money is one important thing.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. No, it can come in many forms. So no, you're right, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I think these 7 steps is really resonate with these 7 steps.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to personally thank you for sharing that. Lastly, can you share a successful story? Because you talk about advice, how impact you are. Can you share a story where your advice had a significant impact on a client's financial well-being, so that people, our audience can hear, oh, that's a practical story, practical example?
Yeah, sure. So, oh gosh, there's just so many.
So many over the last 25 years.
It happens. Look, I'll give you maybe just 2 quick ones. So, one, I had a dear lady she was a widow, and she was basically the investment structure we had was she wasn't paying any tax. So, and she was using the money then to live on. But there was this huge risk if she passed away, because she didn't have any financial dependence.
Right.
Of what's called death tax. And a lot of people aren't aware in Australia. There's no death taxes, but unfortunately there is. Superannuation, although it's so great with the zero tax, does potentially have a tax if you pass away. And I always impressed upon her and said, look, if anything was ever if you're ever told you're not well, and the doctor says, please get your things in order, one of the first things you need to do is call me, because there's a strategy that we can use to potentially reduce this death tax.
Wow.
Now I had it for many, many years, and I was actually due to see her on a Thursday, just for a normal catch up. And she texted me in the morning and said, "I'm sorry, I've got really bad abdomen pain. I won't be able to meet today. I've got to go. I'm going to go to the hospital or the doctor and check it out." She called me a couple of days later and said, "Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't meet. I'm actually in hospital. They've given me a week to live." And she was calling me from the hospital bed, and obviously we'd spoken about this for many, many years, and I was obviously hoping it would never happen, but we knew exactly what to do. And basically over the course of the next week, I did everything that we'd suggested that we were going to do, and sadly she did pass away on the following Saturday.
Wow.
Just a bit over a week compared to when I was going to see her. And what we did, her adult children were just so relieved, because they knew from the discussions with their mum, of this potential death tax. And I think the saving was around about $95,000 for her estate. And that was one thing that was really, really important to her. She really wanted to make sure that she could leave a legacy to her children, but at the same time she didn't want to pay unnecessary tax. So although she's not with us today, I know she'd just be so thankful to know that that $95,000
goes to the children.
It's gone to the children, because that's really what she'd hoped and dreamt about. So I guess there was a good financial well-being story there while she was alive.
Absolutely.
She had lots of peace of mind knowing that there was different strategies we could do. It's great financial well-being, I guess, for her kids. They're obviously in a far better position with that much more money. But to be honest, it affected me too. Like, I was actually so stoked that we could actually help her.
You make an impact in her life at the last minute.
That's right. So I think it really helped everyone's well-being in that story. So there's lots of stories, but maybe that's a good one to consider, and just one small little story of the benefit for seeing an advisor. So yeah.
Again, that you have planted the seed many years ago before her death, but if you never done that, he doesn't even know that strategy, maybe that problem exists.
That's right, exactly.
You never know there's strategy to address that problem as well.
That's right, yeah.
So
exactly.
you have planted the seed and let her know there is this potential problem and there is potential strategy, but you need to see me.
That's right,
before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you actually helped her prepare, had the plan at that right time.
Yeah, that's right. And so much about planning is like that, isn't it? We always predict in the future and say, if this is going to happen, this is the way I'm going to react. Like, if we're going to have a market correction next week, this is how I'm going to react. So then by the time when the event actually comes, you're prepared and you know the way you're going to act. So it's not like, oh, I never thought this was going to happen and what have you.
Yeah.
It's all about planning, and always making sure the potential things that could happen and being one step ahead and knowing what you're going to do if that does occur.
I think that's really impactful and valuable for a lot of people who never, I believe most people never thought about that death tax.
Yeah.
They probably never know about that. I think that's a really good knowledge point that everyone should be aware. And then if you want to do something about it, it's better to see an advisor, to see an expert, before something happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Jeffrey, just the other thing too is if you know someone who hasn't got long to live, it may not be you, maybe your parents or maybe your friends' parents, and if you ever get news to say, oh, so and so, they've got cancer or they've got this many months to live, it's super important for them, to get that message. You need to go and see someone. In those last few months, because it can really make a huge difference to their loved ones and the people they leave. So it may not necessarily be for you, but even if it's for other people, it's good to be aware of.
Yeah, even see professional like financial advisor or solicitor, lawyer. If you need to get the wills done, that's also, you have the specialist around you, so that when you need it, these people can help you at the right time to help you solve the problem. Thank you, Roger, again for that very touching story. Finally, what personal habits and philosophy have contributed to your passion, to your success, both professionally and personally? Because I know you also been successful in sports as well. So how can you always be on top of yourself for different areas? Do you have any secret routine, daily routine?
Yeah.
Because every time I see you, you are always passionate.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess the habits that we all do, isn't it? Creates our future. So, and I'd hope that my habits, are fairly successful. But I think it's probably similar to what we're just sharing about wealth creation. I think it's really important to have that sort of vision, or what you're trying to achieve. Having whether it be goals or like an image board or something like that, so what you're aiming for. So I think that's super important. I actually think it's really important to, in terms of focus every day. It was interesting. I used to carry around a little pebble in my pocket every single day, and I think people used to think I was crazy. Why are you carrying this pebble? But every time I reach into my pocket or feel this pebble, it was almost like a reminder of what was my goals, or what I was trying to achieve. So instead of just forget about it, it was just my little way of making sure that I was always staying focused. And it was one of those goals that you write on New Year's Eve one year, and by the following year you've forgotten what it was. It's really about maintaining the focus. So whether it be the pebble in the pocket or an image board, or just making sure you maintain focus, I think that is super important. I think another one is to, surrounding yourself with really good people who have done it before. So the world's an amazing place. Like pretty much whatever you want to achieve, there's some, in most cases, there's someone who's already gone and achieved it. So you can source those people, and even if you don't know actually how to get there, the world's an amazing place. There's so much resources that, if you create a goal and you don't know what the first step is, there's always probably someone around you can sort of model your behaviour or, work out the next step. So, there's probably like three, just quickly, knowing your goals, staying focused, and surrounding yourself with good people. There's probably more, but I think those three are a pretty good place to start.
Yeah, because Roger is telling everyone, his clients, to have a goal. He's himself is goal-driven. He's very clear about his goal, his motivation and mission in life. I think that's what excites you every time I see you. Because about 10 years ago, I think, 2014, when I met you, you were so passionate. And after I worked in your office, I went back to my team and I say, I met this amazing advisor. Because I'm meeting, all the national advisors during that years. I was, the coach, compliance coach. And you definitely stands out as one of the best passionate advisors that I've seen. Because all the other advisors probably they do it as a job or not as passionate as you, but I can just feel that you're passionate, you're caring for the customer, and getting excited about the goals. And now after 10 years, I see you still in that mode. So I think that's what's been driven you for the last 25 years.
No, thanks for
And I'm really thankful that I surround myself with you as well, so that I can get motivated. So thank you, Roger, for joining us and sharing your valuable insights today. It's been a pleasure discussing this very important aspect of wealth management. Also, with your financial planning methodology and principles. And for our listeners, if you're enjoying this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with people that you think might also benefit. Until next time, keep focusing on building your wealth and riches of life, and surrounding yourself with experts, with passionate, caring people like Roger. And I also want to see you next time.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Thank you.